Before we pick up where we left off, this is just a reminder that this is the second part of a longer video. The first part of this video will be attached in the description down below. Make sure you check that one out before coming over here. This was just split up into two pieces because copyright from Mattel was being an absolute pain in the butt. I apologize for any inconveniences. Anyways, back from where we left off. Okay, that's enough about Vert because I'm pretty sure I just enraged half of the fan base by giving that opinion. The other returnee in this movie, Taro, who in my opinion had it just as bad. And I'm not just talking about visually because, oh dear! Taro's arc in World Race was to learn how to work together with other drivers and think about other people. And that way, he's kind of very much an interesting foil to Vert in that movie, but that's a story for another day. We kind of saw this, seeing as every time he tried to help someone or do something on his own, he would usually butcher it. Think about Lonnie with the rock, passing Kadeem at the end of Leg 2, etc. Honestly, it's a whole other topic I could discuss in another video about Taro's little arc in World Race. Sound off below if you'd like that, because it's a facet of World Race I never see anyone talk about. Anyways, back to Ignition. The one scene that really sours Taro for the whole movie comes particularly in the Storm Realm. I'm sure you know where this is going, but as we established, his arc in World Race was learning about him to work together, and when presented with this idea to Kadeem, what does he do?
Good, Taro! We can take on these drones together!
I'm gonna pass you.
What? And then after his demise, he has the gall to say this one movie later.
Kadeem didn't have an EDR in his car. Remember Kadeem?
Huh? It was literally your fault he died! What's the point there? Hello? God, that line just pisses me off. It's so jarring and then it just starts a domino effect for the rest of the series, but again, I feel it really got its roots and start in this movie. A common defense I see for why Taro does this is that people say he had no idea what the drones were capable of in terms of being able to inflict harm, to which I say, bullshit. Do you not remember this scene where he literally gets hit by the ram and spins out? It's like, did he not learn anything in World Race? I figured I should talk about Kurt and Wild here real quick too, since they're the other two major characters who've returned from World Race. And honestly, I think both of them are fine in this movie. Kurt feels like a natural progression of how we saw him presented at the end of World Race, whilst Wild to me is really cool. I love what they did with him. I love how he represents how much people can change over time. This character could have just been someone completely new, but the fact they chose to use Marky as a vessel to show how time changes people was a great move by the writer's part, and he's really fun in this movie, honestly. Overall, my takeaway here is that the characters who returned were either really great or really butchered. Now that I've given my thoughts on the returnees, I feel now is an appropriate time to shift focus onto those new characters.
No, it couldn't be.
Yeah, Ignition really gave me a sour taste on the characters it introduces, especially on this latest rewatch. They all feel extremely one note in this movie, if that makes sense. It feels like they were just thrown in here to establish their existence as characters for later, and we don't necessarily get to see what makes them tick, unlike the returnees. Starting off, we have Monkey,
Hey, how you doing?
who was purely just comedic relief in this movie, which isn't a bad thing. I think he's hilarious, and I love this character.
Whatever this dude's paying us is not enough!
Who said anything about being paid?
No!
A benefit to Monkey in this is that halfway through, he does get somebody to bounce off of in the form of Porkchop, who again, just feels like a diet version of the character we get to see later on in the series. All we get of him in this is his only personalities of hating the Teku, and just being a brute. There are definite glimpses and excellent foreshadowing as to what comes in the next movie, but for Porkchop, this really wasn't his best outing. Karma is a character who struggles throughout the whole series as feeling very samey, if that makes sense. Her only real personality trait is being that of a perfectionist and striving for excellence, and she doesn't really change from this status quo. I feel like this led to some people to not really like her as much as the years went on, and I can kind of see why. Personally, I'm indifferent to her. Like, she's fine enough. Meanwhile, Shirako is a character. He exists, I guess. He only has 3 lines of dialogue in this movie. Yeah, another unpopular opinion, but I don't know if you can't tell, I'm not that big on Shirako. Damn it. Next up is Torque, who I feel suffers the most from not getting enough time to flesh out. As we see by the end of the series, he's somebody who deals with survivors' guilt about Tone's death, but doesn't outwardly show it with his tough exterior. I think he's a great character. He's definitely one of my favorites, but he just doesn't get his time in the sun with Ignition, unfortunately, and we only scrape the surface with him. Last but not least, oh boy, here we go. Let's talk about Nolo. Nolo, for all intents and purposes, he's just really annoying in this movie. In his literal first scene, he's already being an ass to Vert, souring the viewer's opinion on him immediately, and then just starts acting like a prick immediately when he's called out. Yeah, I don't like it. There's no reason for us to root for him or like him. And then when Gig shows up and Kurt tells him important business comes up and they leave, he just whines like a toddler and screams like a little baby. Is it funny? Yeah, but I don't know, it just really doesn't sell him any better as someone to be rooting for, because up to this point he's just felt really antagonistic. That by the end of the movie, although he is still being portrayed as annoying and immature, I do give them points though how, despite him being annoying and immature by the time the climax in the Swamp Realm comes around, I love how they show that when push comes to shove, he can absolutely pull his weight and show that his spot as leader is absolutely not one to be taken for granted. Only for him to inflate his ego again after winning and resetting his status quo at the beginning of the movie, oh dear. That's it about in terms of the characters. I think my main criticism with their treatment in this movie in particular is that we really get nothing of substance with any of them. They all just feel kind of half-baked and unfinished. That's about it in terms of the new characters. I feel my main criticism with them is that we really don't get to see a lot of them, and as a result, they just feel kind of half-baked in this movie particularly, and they all feel like they're being stereotyped to one trait in particular, like Monkey's the stupid one, Porkchop's the big grumpy one, Nolo's the arrogant one, Karma's the smart one, Shirako's the quiet one, etc. Again, I blame this on the weird pacing of the movie, as we don't get any real breathing room to be able to elaborate on any of these characters, but I can just say I'm thankful that this is only a problem in Ignition, as by the time Speed of Silence rolls around, we really start to get to know these characters, and I think that's for the better. Except with Shirako. He sucks. Okay, this is something that I wasn't originally going to talk about, but as I was writing the script and comparing parts of this movie to the rest of the series, I just noticed a few contradictions and inconsistencies that really bothered me. I think the biggest one that I really noticed on this rewatch between Swamp and Storm is just the durability of the cars in general. As we see in the Storm Realm, the cars do receive quite a thrashing, and some of them do get lost in the realm and are damaged beyond repair. Think about, say, Slingshot and Rollin' Thunder in particular. Slingshot gets hit by a drone car, barrel rolls once, and flips over, losing a wheel, and is rendered undrivable. I will say it is pretty obvious why they couldn't drive Slingshot out of the realm because, well,
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
Meanwhile, then in the next realm, Riveted barrel rolls in Swamp, count it, 12 times, and gets out unscathed. He does land on his roof, so that may have helped, but still. This just feels like a real inconsistency with how durable are these cars. Can they take hits? Can they not? Can they roll over and survive? It doesn't really make that much sense to me, and I feel it's just an inconsistency that's always kind of bothered me. Power Rage is actually lost in the Swamp Realm due to it landing sideways. This is why we see Shirako picking Vert up after the realm is cleared by Nolo. Just because it lands sideways, Vert just leaves the car behind, implying that it's damaged and they can't be rolled over. But then Taro does this one movie later. which then it kind of makes you ask the question of like, why does Vert not do this? And then Rolling Thunder just gets smashed to oblivion by one hit of an orb. Yet later on in the other movies, the cars can just take multiple hits from the racing drone's energy orbs. I know it's nitpicky, but it's just the small little things like this that add up over time and stay in the back of my head. I'm not holding any of these against the movie, as it is very much just nitpicking. I just thought these were very funny things that I kind of picked up on as the movie went on in this latest rewatch, and I thought it was worth sharing. In closing, going into this rewatch Ignition, I honestly thought I was gonna hate it more. But I really did find a few new things I never noticed before that I did thoroughly enjoy. My stance definitely hasn't changed, and I still think to this day this is by far the weakest movie of the four. However, I feel like I can give admiration to Ignition for having to squander its execution a bit in order for the rest of the series to run and flourish as a result. Being able to do things like fleshing out their characters, discovering what makes them tick, and adding on new layers to the original narrative and building the world out further. If I had to grade Ignition, I would still give it around a 6.5 out of 10. Well, if you made it this far into the video, I just wanted to say thank you for watching and listening to my ramblings about a 20-year-old toy commercial. I enjoyed making more of a long-form video essay about the actual movies, and I've definitely gotten more ideas for videos as a result of writing this script. Thank you for watching, and if you want more, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Stay classy! Hey guys, it's me from post-production. I just wanted to apologize for this video taking another week or so to get out. It's just that copyright was a pain in the butt for this video because Mattel kept content IDing the footage. That was awesome. Thanks guys.